Your experience sounds intense. Let's start weaving it into a narrative. Back in 2007, when I was just 18 and fresh out of college, I found myself in a rather peculiar situation. See, I was staying in this apartment that had a quirky layout. You had to climb a flight of stairs as soon as you entered, leading up to the main floor. From there, the living room and balcony were in full view. The balcony had this wooden divider on the left, separating it from my neighbor's space. Now, I hadn't really interacted much with my neighbors, who happened to be this elderly couple. They'd been there longer than I had, but beyond the occasional nod in passing, we kept to ourselves. Little did I know that this quiet arrangement was about to be disrupted. It all started on a chilly night when I was out on the balcony, absorbed in the owner's manual of my brand new car. Snowflakes danced lightly around me as I chatted away with my mom on the phone. Suddenly, I felt a warm breeze and caught a whiff of whiskey. Startled, I turned to find myself face to face with a stranger peering over the wooden divider. "Hey, I'm Jake," he said, extending his hand towards me. I hesitated for a moment before tentatively responding. Hi." Before I could muster more than a forced smile, he vanished as quickly as he had appeared. Bewildered, I hastily ended my call with Mom and retreated indoors, shaking off the encounter as best as I could. The next day, while getting ready for work, I found a note in my mailbox. It was from Jake, expressing admiration for my beauty and suggesting we go out on a date. Confused and slightly unnerved, I brushed it off and headed out for the day. That night, as I relaxed in my room with a book, shouts erupted from my neighbor's apartment. Jake's voice cut through the air, filled with anger and menace. My blood ran cold as I heard him utter threats, including one chilling declaration aimed at his own mother. Then, the sliding glass door from their balcony slammed shut, and I could hear footsteps echoing in the night. The smell of cigarettes and whiskey wafted through the air, sending shivers down my spine. Later, as I stirred from sleep to use the bathroom, Jake's voice pierced the silence once more, commanding me to stay put with a nickname that made my skin crawl. Despite my unease, I complied, retreating to the safety of my bed until morning. But even in the light of day, the sense of foreboding lingered. A cold breeze seemed to whisper through the apartment, leaving me on edge as I searched for its source, only to find nothing amiss. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a series of unsettling events that would test my nerves in ways I never imagined. I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that lingered after discovering my apartment had been broken into. The sight of the wide-open balcony door and the missing lock sent chills down my spine. As I cautiously picked up the note left on my kitchen counter, my hands trembled with fear. It was another plea from Jake, urging me to go on a date with him, with a promise that I wouldn't regret it. But with each word I read, my apprehension only grew. Throughout the day, paranoia gnawed at me, fearing Jake's return and what he might do next. Later that night, as I sought solace in a conversation with my mom, the tranquility was shattered by the sound of running and pounding echoing through the walls. Jake was back, his menacing presence palpable even from a distance. My mom urged me not to answer the door as the chaos ensued outside. Heart pounding, I stood frozen in front of my door, listening to his relentless pounding and yelling. Minutes felt like hours until finally, the commotion ceased. Breathless with relief, I bid my mom a hasty goodbye and and ventured back into the living room, only to find Jake standing there, his gaze fixed on me. "Why didn't you answer the door?" he demanded, his tone chillingly calm. Caught off guard, I stammered a feeble excuse about being in the shower, my pulse racing with each word. His response was dismissive as he climbed back over the divider and vanished into the night, leaving me shaken to the core. With my lease soon to expire, I wasted no time in bidding farewell to that ominous apartment and its unwelcome visitor. A week later, as I settled into my new place, I received a call from my landlord revealing Jake's unauthorized presence on the property. It was a chilling confirmation of the danger I had narrowly escaped. But little did I know, this encounter was just the beginning of a string of unsettling events that would haunt me for years to come. Fast forward to last year, and I found myself facing yet another unsettling encounter, this time in the comfort of my own home. Living alone in a house, I thought I was safe from the horrors of the past. Little did I know, danger lurked closer than I could ever imagine. It was a typical night, with the clock ticking towards 9 or 10 p.m., when a knock echoed through the silence. I approached the door cautiously, peering through the window to find a woman standing outside, with her long blonde hair and a distressed look. She seemed to be in her 20s, clad in a black sweatshirt. Unease settled in as she pleaded to be let inside, claiming someone was after her. I offered to call the police, but she refused, insisting on shelter within the safety of my home. Sensing something amiss, I stood my ground, refusing her entry. With a sense of relief, I watched as she retreated into the night, disappearing into the darkness. But just when I thought the encounter was over, fate had other plans. The following night, as I sat in my living room, a familiar figure caught my eye through the window. It was her, the same woman from the night before, walking past my house once again. My heart raced as I realized she wasn't just a passing stranger, but a recurring presence, lurking in the shadows of my seemingly peaceful neighborhood. With each passing moment, the sense of unease grew, leaving me to wonder what sinister secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of my once tranquil existence. Little did I know, this encounter was just the beginning of a nightmare that would unravel the very fabric of my reality. Sole occupant of my house, it was an unsettling realization to discover that the woman who had been haunting my neighborhood was now standing in my own home as the police led her away. I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that had settled over me. In the aftermath of her arrest, I found myself grappling with unanswered questions. Why had she fixated on me? What had compelled her to stalk me with such determination, despite my best efforts to rationalize the situation? The answers remained elusive, leaving me to wonder if I would ever truly understand the motives behind her disturbing behavior. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. The sanctity of my home had been violated, leaving behind a sense of vulnerability that I couldn't easily shake off. Each creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the wind outside, served as a stark reminder of the intrusion I had endured. Despite the passage of time, the memory of that harrowing night continued to haunt me, a shadow lurking in the corners of my mind. It was a sobering reminder of the fragility of safety and the thin line that separated order from chaos. Yet, amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope, with the woman apprehended and removed from my life, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that I was no longer in danger. But even as I sought solace in the newfound sense of security, the scars of that night remained etched in my memory, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As I reflect on the events that unfolded, I am reminded of the importance of vigilance and self-preservation. In a world where danger can lurk around every corner, it is crucial to trust our instincts and heed the warning signs that may be all too easy to overlook. So, to anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation, remember this: you are not alone. Trust in your intuition, seek help when needed, and never underestimate the power of resilience in the face of adversity. And above all, remember to cherish the safety and security of home, for it is a sanctuary worth protecting at all costs. Wow, that sounds like a truly unsettling experience. Let's integrate it into the narrative. 2 years ago, amidst a job transition, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of unsettling events that would shake me to my core. It all began with a change in employment, moving from one office to another in pursuit of better opportunities. The first office wasn't bad. I had good rapport with most of my coworkers, despite the occasional oddball like Jeremy. Jeremy was a colleague whose demeanor often set off alarm bells for me and others in the office. His behavior was just off, So when he reached out to me out of the blue, asking to hang out, it sent a shiver down my spine. Unsure of how to respond, I hesitated, which only seemed to stoke his impatience. Accusing me of ignoring him after a mere 2 hours of silence, Jeremy's persistence bordered on obsession. When I finally mustered a response declining his invitation, he didn't take it well, disappearing for a few days before resurfacing with a late-night phone call. The voicemail he left sent chills down my spine, as he somehow knew intimate details about my whereabouts, details that I hadn't shared with anyone. It was as if he had been watching me, lurking in the shadows of my life. Faced with mounting unease, I confronted him, demanding answers to his unsettling behavior. But instead of clarity, his silence only deepened the mystery surrounding his intentions. And then came the realization that I was being watched, as a mysterious car appeared outside my home, its presence a silent threat lingering in the night. As the nights wore on, the tension escalated, culminating in a disturbing phone call at 1 a.m. A blatant violation of boundaries that left me shaken to the core. Confronted with Jeremy's relentless pursuit, I took matters into my own hands, blocking him from my life in a desperate bid to reclaim my sense of security. Wow, that sounds like a truly unsettling experience. Let's integrate it into the narrative. 2 years ago, amidst a job transition, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of unsettling events that would shake me to my core. It all began with a change in employment, moving from one office to another in pursuit of better opportunities. The first office wasn't bad. I had good rapport with most of my coworkers, despite the occasional oddball like Jeremy. Jeremy was a colleague whose demeanor often set off alarm bells for me and others in the office. His behavior was just off, So when he reached out to me out of the blue, asking to hang out, it sent a shiver down my spine. Unsure of how to respond, I hesitated, which which only seemed to stoke his impatience, accusing me of ignoring him after a mere 2 hours of silence. Jeremy's persistence bordered on obsession. When I finally mustered a response declining his invitation, he didn't take it well, disappearing for a few days before resurfacing with a late-night phone call. The voicemail he left sent chills down my spine, as he somehow knew intimate details about my whereabouts, details that I hadn't shared with anyone. It was as if he had been watching me, lurking in the shadows of my life. Faced with mounting unease, I confronted him, demanding answers to his unsettling behavior. But instead of clarity, his silence only deepened the mystery surrounding his intentions. And then came the realization that I was being watched, as a mysterious car appeared outside my home. Its presence, a silent threat, lingering in the night. As the nights wore on, the tension escalated, culminating in a disturbing phone call at 1 a.m. A blatant violation of boundaries that left me shaken to the core. Confronted with Jeremy's relentless pursuit, I took matters into my own hands, blocking him from my life in a desperate bid to reclaim my sense of security. But even as I severed ties with Jeremy, the scars of his obsession lingered, a constant reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface of our seemingly ordinary lives. And as I navigated the aftermath of his intrusion, I couldn't help but wonder, how many others have fallen prey to the darkness that dwells within the hearts of those we least suspect? As I pulled into my street, my heart raced with apprehension. The car that had been tailing me since I left work seemed determined to follow me home, its presence casting a shadow of unease over my evening. With each turn, the distance between us narrowed, until I found myself face to face with the man behind the wheel. Though the darkness obscured his features, I couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity that washed over me. It was Emma's ex-boyfriend, the same man who had confronted me at work just days before. The realization sent a shiver down my spine as I braced myself for whatever confrontation lay ahead. With a sense of determination, I made the decision to confront him, to put an end to this unsettling game of cat and mouse once and for all. As I parked my car and stepped out onto the quiet street, his car came to a halt behind me, the tension thick in the air. I approached his vehicle, my pulse pounding in my ears, and met his gaze through the darkness. There was anger in his eyes, but also something else, something desperate and hollow that spoke of pain and betrayal. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside me. He hesitated for a moment, as if grappling with his own emotions, before finally speaking in a voice laced with bitterness and regret. I needed to see her," he admitted, his words heavy with the weight of confession. I needed to know if she was okay. His vulnerability took me by surprise, softening my resolve as I looked into his eyes, searching for the truth behind his actions. In that moment, I saw not just a jealous ex-boyfriend, but a man haunted by his own demons, struggling to make sense of a world that had crumbled around him. As we stood there in the quiet of the night, a silent understanding passed between us, a shared recognition of the pain that had brought us to this moment. And in that moment of clarity, I found the courage to offer him a semblance of peace, a reassurance that Emma was safe and moving on with her life. With a nod of gratitude, He retreated into the night, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the quiet hum of the streetlights above. And as I watched his car fade into the distance, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of our seemingly ordinary lives. But one thing was certain. In the face of adversity, there is strength in solidarity, in reaching out to one another with compassion and understanding. And as I headed home, I carried with me a newfound sense of empathy, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. The altercation left me shaken and bruised, both physically and emotionally. As I recounted the harrowing encounter to the police, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief that this nightmare was becoming my reality. How had a simple misunderstanding escalated into a full-blown confrontation? Despite the pain throbbing through my body, I knew I had to remain resilient. With the support of the authorities and my friends, I resolved to put an end to Emma's ex-boyfriend's reign of terror once and for all. In the days that followed, I found myself navigating a whirlwind of emotions, from fear and anger to a simmering determination to seek justice. With each passing moment, the weight of what had transpired settled over me, a stark reminder of the fragility of safety and the resilience of the human spirit. As I awaited news from the police and braced myself for the possibility of further confrontations, I found solace in the unwavering support of my loved ones. Their presence served as a beacon of hope in the darkness, a reminder that I was not alone in this fight. And as the days turned into weeks, I found a sense of closure in Emma's departure to Seattle, a distant city that offered her a fresh start far from the turmoil of her past. With her ex-boyfriend's grip loosening and the threat of violence diminishing, I allowed myself to breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that I had emerged from the darkness stronger than before. But even as I moved forward, the scars of that fateful encounter remained etched in my memory, a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows of our everyday lives. And as I reflected on the events that had transpired, I couldn't help but wonder what other dangers lay hidden beneath the surface, waiting to shatter the illusion of safety and security. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. And as I looked to the future, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would face them with courage and determination, knowing that I was not alone in my journey. Mailbox. And this time, my heart sank as I recognized the handwriting. It was the same mysterious sender, taunting me with their silent surveillance. With trembling hands, I tore open the envelope, dreading what I might find inside. Sure enough, there they were, more photos, each one more unnerving than the last. They captured moments from my daily routine, from mundane activities like grocery shopping, to intimate moments in the privacy of my own home. It was as if the sender had been watching me every step of the way, lurking in the shadows like a silent specter. As I sifted through the images, a sense of dread washed over me, mingling with frustration and anger. Who was this person, and what did they want from me? It felt like a violation of my privacy, an intrusion into the sanctity of my personal space. Once again, I found myself at the police station, recounting the unsettling events to the officers on duty. But just like before, there was little they could do without concrete evidence of wrongdoing. The photos, while disturbing, didn't constitute a crime in and of themselves, leaving me feeling helpless and vulnerable. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the constant fear that someone was lurking just beyond the edges of my perception. Every shadow seemed to conceal a potential threat, every noise a harbinger of danger. But amidst the fear and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope, a determination to reclaim my sense of security and take back control of my life. With the support of friends and loved ones, I embarked on a journey of self-preservation, implementing security measures and staying vigilant against any signs of further intrusion. And as I watched the days turn into weeks without any further incidents, I began to regain a sense of normalcy, slowly but surely putting the ordeal behind me. Yet, the memory of those photos lingered in the back of my mind, a reminder of the fragility of safety in an increasingly uncertain world. But for now, I refused to let fear dictate my life. I would not be cowed into submission by the actions of a faceless stranger. Instead, I would rise above the fear, stronger and more resilient than before, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The unsettling ordeal you've endured is truly alarming. It's understandable that you're feeling anxious and unsettled by these invasive actions. The sense of violation that comes with having your privacy invaded in such a manner is profound. And it's natural to want to take proactive steps to ensure your safety and well-being. Moving to a new place and finding a different parking lot for work are sensible precautions to take. Changing your routine and surroundings can provide a sense of security and disrupt any patterns that may have made you a target for this individual's unwanted attention. As for the identity and motives of the person behind these disturbing acts, it's difficult to say. Without more information or evidence, it's challenging for the authorities to track down the perpetrator and hold them accountable for their actions. However, it's essential to remain vigilant and continue to report any suspicious activity to the police. In the meantime, surrounding yourself with a support network of friends and loved ones can provide comfort and reassurance during this trying time. You're not alone in this, and there are people who care about your well-being and want to help you through this ordeal. Remember to prioritize your safety and take any necessary precautions to protect yourself from harm. Trust your instincts and don't hesitate to reach out for help if you feel threatened or unsafe. Together, we can work towards creating a safer and more secure environment for everyone. Certainly, let's continue the narrative. In the aftermath of these disturbing incidents, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered like a shadow, casting a pall over my daily life. Despite my best efforts to resume some semblance of normalcy, the fear of another encounter with the unknown perpetrator gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. As I searched for a new place to live and adjusted my daily routines to minimize the risk of further intrusion, I found myself grappling with a barrage of unanswered questions. Who was behind the relentless surveillance? And what drove them to target me with such relentless determination? With each passing day, the sense of uncertainty only seemed to grow, fueled by the absence of any concrete answers or leads. I found myself scrutinizing every passing face, every unfamiliar car that passed by, searching for any sign of the mysterious individual who had invaded my life so brazenly. Yet, despite my efforts to remain vigilant, the weeks stretched into months without any further incidents. Gradually, the sense of dread that had gripped me began to ebb, replaced by a cautious optimism that perhaps the worst was behind me. But even as I dared to hope for a return to normalcy, the memory of those haunting photographs lingered like a ghost, a constant reminder of the fragility of security in an unpredictable world. I knew that I could never truly rest easy until the perpetrator was brought to justice and held accountable for their actions. And so, as I forged ahead with renewed determination, I vowed to remain vigilant, to stay alert to any signs of trouble, and to never let my guard down again. For while the scars of this ordeal may fade with time, the lessons learned would endure, serving as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. As I look towards the future, I do so with a renewed sense of strength and purpose, knowing that I have weathered this storm and emerged stronger on the other side. And though the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, I am determined to face them head-on, secure in the knowledge that I am not alone in my journey. In closing, let us reflect on the journey we've embarked upon together, a journey marked by uncertainty, fear, and ultimately, resilience. Though the road may have been fraught with obstacles and challenges, we have navigated it with courage and determination. Along the way, we've confronted our fears, adapted to adversity, and emerged stronger for the experience. As we stand on the threshold of a new chapter, let us carry with us the lessons learned from this ordeal. Let us cherish the importance of vigilance, the value of community, and the resilience of the human spirit. Though the shadows of the past may linger, let us embrace the promise of tomorrow with hope and optimism. For in our darkest moments, we have discovered the strength to endure, the courage to persevere, and the resilience to overcome. And so, as we bid farewell to this chapter and turn our gaze towards the horizon, let us do so with heads held high and hearts filled with determination. For whatever challenges may lie ahead, we face them not as victims, but as survivors, empowered by our shared experiences and fortified by our unwavering resolve. Together, we shall continue to write the story of our lives, one of resilience, courage, and the enduring triumph of the human spirit. And in doing so, we shall emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. For in the face of adversity, we find our truest selves, and in the bonds of community, we find the strength to rise above. So let us march forward, hand in hand, towards a future filled with hope, possibility, and the promise of brighter days ahead.